3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back, everyone. My name is Sienna Kasky. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm the Iowa Women of Color Initiative Leadership Liaison.
And hello, everyone. My name is Tamara Lash. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm the Iowa Women of Color Graduate Assistant. As we do with every episode, we're going to start off with the land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making this history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. What we now call Corvallis, Oregon, is located within the traditional homelands of the Marys River or Ampinefu Band of Kalapuya. Today, living descendants of these people are part of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. We pay respect to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today.
So for today's episode, we are chatting with some of the amazing women of culturally based Greeks on campus. Woo! So let's go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Plata, and I am the Executive Director of the Multicultural Greek Council, as well as the Vice President and proud member of Gamma Alpha Omega Sorority Incorporated.
Hi, my name is Alexis Valadez. I am the Director of Event Programming and Public Relations for the Multicultural Greek Council, and I am also the President of Gamma Alpha Omega Sorority Incorporated. Sorry, my pronouns are she, her, hers, and yeah.
And my name is Dominique Holman. I am a representative of the National Pan-Hellenic Council here at OSU. I'm also a member of the Sigma Delta chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Awesome. We'd love if you can just kind of walk us through your journey and how you found your org. Starting wherever, whoever feels called to speak first.
Who crossed first?
Spring 18.
Spring 17. All right. So I'm from out of state. I'm from Sacramento, California area, and so I wanted to leave home to come to college because my whole family and my whole life has been there, but I was ready for something new, and so I decided to come to Oregon State, originally for pharmacy school, but that didn't work out. But I wanted to be involved in a way that was something new. My parents never been to college, so I was like, why not try Greek life? And so I actually did go through Pan-Hellenic recruitment, and so I did rush for 2 days, and when I was there I didn't feel really connected or I felt like represented in the way that I felt I was, and so I decided to drop. And it was at least, I think, winter term when I saw I was studying in the sec lounge, and I saw Greeks outside like strolling, and I heard music, and I was like, what is this? Like, I need to know more
like, that
about
sounds
this.
cool.
Yeah. I like looked outside and I just saw like a jacket with Greek letters on it, and I was like, what is this? And so I searched it up, and I actually found out that there was multicultural Greeks on campus, and I was really excited. And I found that Gamma Alpha Omega was Latina founded, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so I actually ended up emailing them. I reached out and I was like, I really want to know more about your organization and like what it holds. And so when I met everyone, it was at the time four of them. And so I was really nervous, but I was excited, and they honestly opened like their arms wide open and like were like, you seem really nice, and like we'd love to get to know you more. Like, we really want to be that support system. And for me, being out of state and I was really having a hard time connecting to campus, I felt really safe and comfortable with them. And so I decided to join, and it was the best decision. It's brought a lot out of me, and it's made me kind of like who I am and made me very confident in myself and how I carry myself. So
That's awesome.
Well, I was, like, when I first came to OSU, I like automatically wrote off like Greek life, just from what I saw in the movies and TV shows, I was just like, no, this isn't for me. But it wasn't really until, because I knew there were like culturally based organizations or Greek organizations, but it didn't really like, I didn't really try to like go in depth and to see like what more there was. And it wasn't until, I want to say maybe I think it was my sophomore year that I like saw the Phi Beta Sigma, so they had members come out, and they're one of the fraternities within the NPHC, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is pretty cool. So then I started doing a little bit more research into see what the sororities were, because in the NPHC there are 4 sororities, and there are 5 fraternities, so a total of 9. So then I did my research, and I remember there was a probate happening. This was my junior year now at this point, and there was a probate happening in Eugene for AKA, and a probate is basically like the introduction of the newest members in the chapter. So then I attended that, and it was pretty amazing, like seeing all the women there. And in their pink and green, and I was like, so cute. So then, leaving that day, I was like, okay, I think this is what I want to do. So I did my research even more, and then later that spring of that year, I joined. So it's been amazing. Like I've met so many of my best friends, closest like peers and supporters, and I've met so many different women who have just been here on this journey with me to shape me into like the woman who I am today. So I really wouldn't be the same without my chapter.
Did you bring it back to OSU?
Yeah, so like our chapter is a dual chapter, so we have so UO and OSU, so we're all one chapter under Sigma Delta. And before, so fall 17 when they came, they were only at University of Oregon. So when me and Amber, she graduated this past year, we were the only ones on this campus. So,
wow.
Yep. It's been pretty great though.
Cool.
Like I've been holding it down.
Oh yeah. See many more of you.
Me too.
What about you, Steph?
So I was a transfer student. A little like backstory, I went to study in Colorado for a little bit, and that kind of wasn't fitting me, and so I went to like another junior college. So it was like a junior college to junior college, and then I moved here. And so I really like didn't have like the kind of traditional sense where I was like, oh, like there's all this stuff to do when you're a freshman, because I would just like get my degree and then see where it kind of takes me. And just like kind of being here, I knew that I wanted to do something more in the community, because I was really involved at like my other junior colleges, as well as like in high school. I always wanted to be a part of something and like help plan and do things, like just having that community and being a part of like a group of people who are just doing work and towards one complete goal. And so I actually had moved in with some random roommates. I lived in an apartment where like they kind of like randomly match you up, and one of them was actually in a CGC chapter, and so she's like, hey, like go ahead, like come on, like feel free to come to recruitment, and I was like, okay, like I'll just like get a taste of it, and I never really heard back from them, so I was like, okay, maybe like I didn't fit them or they didn't fit me. And then I'd heard that another like Panhellenic chapter was doing like a COB, or like continuous open bidding, and sometimes that just happens when they need to fill some spots in their chapter houses or chapter facilities, or they just have some openings. And I also didn't make it in that one as well, but I can tell throughout that process I didn't really fit the same way. Like I didn't make the connections that I did until I like went to like a Benvenidos event. And I was able to like meet, I think I actually met with Alexis, honestly. And like just talking, like it felt a lot more natural, and I felt more comfortable, and like I could embrace myself a little bit more, because I noticed like when I first did that, like that was for a whole year, and I didn't really join to like my second year here. Like I could just tell I kind of like changed myself to try to fit in, but like when I was there, like I just talking to Alexis and like some of the other sisters who were there, I just felt really like welcomed, and like I didn't have to like feel like I had to change myself to like be accepted or like to just even have like the opportunity to talk to them. So that was like my first experience kind of seeing like multicultural orgs. And then they had like a game night that night, and like, you should come. And I was like, okay. And then like I went and I just had like a blast, and just like seeing how like close everyone was, and it like really needed that like home away from home that I really like was kind of craving being so far away, and not really having that for a whole year, and feeling like, and during that year I was like really upset and sad, and like I wasn't doing really good academically, but like as soon as like joining, like I felt like encouraged, and I felt like supported, and it was like everything that I really needed, and honestly is the reason why I'm still here probably, and I'm so like integrated into the community is because of my sisters. So.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Can you like walk us through a little bit all of the acronyms, because your girl doesn't know what is going on. I'm like, so like, what is, maybe starting off with the difference between like NPHC and Multicultural Greeks, and then like from there was just so many acronyms. I was like, what is that? I'm listening, but what's going on, just for like our viewers too.
Well, NPHC stands for the National Pan-Hellenic Council, and it just encompasses the historically Black Greek-lettered organizations. Of course, we're not exclusive to just Black people or people who identify as Black. And you want to talk about MGC?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to like say a little bit of the history, but like MGC organizations like really don't exist or have wouldn't be able to exist without NPHC. So I think we have a lot of honor and like thankfulness that their existence was able to lead the way for us to be able to exist as well, because without them, like we wouldn't have that ability to. So thank you.
It wasn't just me.
Dominique's like,
But in that sense, that like we exist to like be that space that's kind of outside that. So we. Or at least MGC supports like our multicultural and culturally based, so those who identify within that or even outside of that, and just like willing to like have that experience and learn and just kind of create that community within like people who may not identify as like the majority.
Right. There's definitely like a closeness between like our two councils just because of the history, which is like, at least for NPHC, and I feel like MGC as well, like we were created specifically because during a time in the early 1900s when Black people weren't allowed into your traditional PHC and IFC fraternities and sororities. So there's just like kind of bond over that history. It's like a sad history, but like it unites us.
Yeah. Wow. So I've seen a lot on Instagram that both of your sororities have a lot of connections with U of O. So is that out of necessity because there's not many like people of color in Oregon, or is that just because we're close by, or like how does that relationship work?
So for us, recently our U of O chapter just came back. They were dormant for some time, and one of our alum, Maricela, actually brought them back with some other sisters. So it's really nice. They've only been since the beginning of fall, actually, and they now have 15 members.
Wow.
So,
That's quick.
They've grown a lot.
They popped off.
They did. Yeah, they did. And so we're really happy to actually finally have a chapter close by to us. Our nearest chapter was University of Washington, which is 4 hours away. So it's nice that we have that connection of sisters that are only like an hour away. It's still some distance, but we're trying to connect as much as we can, and like we understand like they're newer and they're trying to figure out everything, and so we're trying to build that bridge together, and like we understand that like it's hard to be in a multicultural Greek on campus sometimes. And so we're actually planning to do a paddle exchange soon.
Oh,
so
that's
we'll
fun.
decorate a little paddle and like have their like nicknames and like the things they like on it. So it'd be pretty fun. And
And then your sorority is like a joint.
Yeah, so it's like a
campus
dual
sorority.
chapter. So like it's not too common, but so my chapter was chartered on both campuses. So it's pretty cool. I actually really, at first when I first heard about it, I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. Like I never heard of that, and it's benefited me quite a bit just because I never would have been able to meet any of those girls out there, and now we have like this one thing unifying us. Like although there are rivals, we always get into it over that. But at the end of the day, it's like all love always.
That's cool. That's really cool. So what does the paddle represent? I've seen it in movies, I've seen it and like with people doing exchanges, but what is it actually, can you tell us?
I think like if you like kind of go back to like the stereotypical or like what you think of like through like hazing and different things, like that has like some sort of like history with it, but I think now it's kind of evolved into just like a gift or like offering that like you do with like your big and little, or just like something that you want to do as like a gift for like a fellow sister or like another member of a different organization. Some people like to do that.
Neat.
Yeah, I think they're just like physical symbols of like that you
That's
just
cool.
gift.
I dig it. So I think, like, what is y'all's overall hope for each of your sororities?
Growth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Representation,
Yeah.
like here on campus, like we're here, like we're just as important as PHC and IFC and CGC.
Yeah, I think especially seeing like being also on the council for MDCs, like seeing MPHC grow, like, and also our MDC chapters, like we have a Native American sorority I would love to see grow, and we have also a second Latina sorority, and like I just want to see everybody grow and see the community grow, because it's nice knowing like you have that community, especially when you're like going to Greek life and sometimes you may not connect with some people. I think like think about my own like experience, and like it's just nice knowing you can see people and be like, hey, like we get each other,
Yeah.
like you know, like we're
That's really
there,
special.
we found that special connection, and so yeah.
That's really neat.
A lot of you talked about, as you were going through your stories and how you found your orgs, like the importance of that community. And so can you speak to me a little bit, or like the both of us, about what having that community here at Oregon State has meant for you, especially it being a predominantly white school, and how being a part of MGC or NPHC has maybe like you said, it made you want to stay. Like it's the reason why you're here, and maybe why.
I just feel like it is so hard going to a university where, like going to a PWI. Like, so when I first came to OSU, I was kind of, because I didn't really visit before, so I didn't know what to expect, even though I'm from Oregon, but still just never had the time to go and visit. So when I did come here, I was just a little surprised that there wasn't many black people or people of color just in general. So I went to the the Black Cultural Center on campus, and they house the Divine Nine or the NPHC. So
You just kind of went there and
so seeing those people, because there was some Greeks there at the time too, so being able to be a part of something with other women who, you know, embody the same values that you do and can understand the struggle of what it's like going through college at a PWI, it just kind of helped bond more and like gave you all that like, camaraderie. So that's kind of what it was for me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I feel like I definitely agree with Dom. Like, I didn't do my START program here, so I did it in San Francisco because it was closer and cheaper for my family. So honestly, I didn't know about a lot of the resources on campus. I just applied to get a job to work at the dining hall, so like I was just connected in that sense. Like I only knew the dining hall and my classes, and so I would just very to myself, experiencing like I felt alone a lot of the times. It was really hard for me my freshman year, and so I think I was trying to find that connection, and so when I did Panhellenic, I didn't feel it, and so I was kind of just like, okay, well, we'll see how this year turns out. Like it was really am I gonna stay or am I gonna leave? And so that winter when I finally met and like learned about multicultural Greeks, I think it was kind of a hope for me, because I felt like it was a way for me to connect with other women that kind of looked like me and felt the same way as me. So it definitely was very nice, and I think like something I'm proud about for our like sorority in general is like we have different identities and different cultures, and so I think it's really beautiful when like we can all come together and be like, we're here to help support you through your academic journey, and like we know that you're struggling and like it's hard claiming yourself on here, but like we're gonna do it and we're gonna do it together and we're gonna succeed.
I agree. Just like having that like shared experience, like, and I think because maybe we're both out of state, like, and just like sharing our experiences now, like they're very similar in like a sense that like we did have that moment of being like alone or not knowing where we fit in or like how to like navigate through the space of being at a PWI and like not looking the same or not like maybe having the same interests as some of the people here. So like, yeah, just having that like shared experience was like good to know that it was like kind of already there and I didn't have to explain myself or I didn't have to like explain why I was feeling certain ways or why like how to like do certain things or why I tried so hard to fit in sometimes. So I really agree with that as well. And I think that's what made me stay was like knowing that like I didn't have to explain those and even like if I did have other things in my experiences like I would be accepted for it and I wouldn't like be like shunned away or I wouldn't like be thought of differently. Like it was just like just love and like open arms the whole time.
That's really cool. So kind of,
just kidding.
No, you go.
I just want to know, like, if there's one thing that you could tell our viewers about your orgs.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh my God, look at that! Like, what would you want people to know? Because I like went here in undergrad and I like joined a Panhellenic sorority and like did that all 4 years. And it wasn't until I started to work at the BCC that I even knew that we had D9 orgs or like other orgs on campus. There's just like nothing out there when I came here 6 years ago or whatever. So the fact like seeing everybody grow right now is amazing, but there's still so much I don't know. And so like, what's the one thing that you would hope that people can walk away with after watching this?
I would say that we exist and that there is a space for everyone who's looking for it here. I think that we are really fortunate at OSU to have that. I know it's really hard at other universities, especially other PWIs, that they don't have like that community we do. And I feel like our community right now is like kind of growing in that sense where we have connections like with like IFC and Panhellenic and CGC. Like we have those now, but like we have that space where we're taking it, and I think that's what's really important.
Yeah, I just like don't be afraid to ask questions. Also, like there are so many times like my freshman and sophomore year where I was just like I would see things and I just didn't. I was too shy to ask. Maybe I would have joined earlier if I asked sooner, but just utilize the CFSL, which is the Center for Fraternity and Sorority Life, because the people who work there are really amazing. Leslie and JP, they're always willing to help you find where you belong. So, like Stephanie said, there's a place for you.
Yeah, and if like you see us on campus, like don't like be afraid to like come up to us, because I think it's important like just asking questions and like I know doing research can be hard, like going on the CFSL website is a great tool, and like I think just like it's like we want people to feel comfortable, and I know it's a scary thing, so it's like take the time you need to come, but know that like everyone is here to open arms, and like if you want to learn more about another org or another council, like I'm not afraid to talk about those things. And so like if I'm like, hey, like I see you're really vibing with this, like maybe I'll take you to this chapter, and like I think you'd connect really well. So yeah.
I think just building connections with people in it, or just like having like just regular friendships. I think a lot of the times like new members are like people you've met in the past, or like something like, oh, I didn't really know like this, but like this is really cool. I'm interested in what you're doing now, and like Alexis saying, like recommending people to like try new things or go out and like meet other people. And kind of like that networking that you can do, and just like being friends with everyone. Like I feel like our community, especially like NPHC and like MGCs, like they're really close in that sense, where like we have all like taken either some similar classes or done like similar programs, and so like there's like smaller connections in between that, and then just like turns out later on that they ended up going Greek.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We had such a good time. I learned a lot, actually.
Yeah, me too. Is there any like Instagram handles or like social media or whatever like for the peoples to know to get connected with you all?
We can also list that in the bubble too.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's easiest.
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in the process of changing branding for
Oh,
MGC. So
okay, exciting.
Look
Well,
out
you
for
heard
that.
it here. Rebranding is happening.
Love that.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We will drop some links on how to get involved with all these lovely ladies that you just met. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.